I am Choki van der Merwe, admin clerk of ATG CrossFit and Bubishi Karate. I'm also known as the Castle King. My skills include remembering one-liners from movies and lifting more than most girls at the gym. Nick Chalmers, coach at ATG CrossFit, karate instructor at Bubishi Karate, possible vampire and master of dad jokes.
Hi, I'm Kyle Chalmers,
vertically challenged and horizontally encouraged head coach of ATG CrossFit.
And you're listening to Gym Owner Jams. Welcome to our first episode of Gym Owner Jams. On this episode, we will discuss how we as a CrossFit gym and a karate dojo had navigated this lockdown period in South Africa. We had 3 seasons. We had the initial 21-day lockdown period. Then it was extended for 2 weeks, which is almost finished now. And then we're going into season 3 soon, where we don't really know what it looks like and what it will entail. But we're staying positive. We thought we'd share some insights with you guys on how we've managed. This is certainly not a specialist 90-day plan on how to save your business, just some things that we've implemented from our side. We are joined by 2 of our members, longer-standing members, that seem to have managed this lockdown period pretty successfully and kept up with their training. The first thing we implemented is a bit of a leaderboard system, where we had a weekly competition. The competition gave you points for attending classes, our online Zoom classes, and also posting on social media. We've asked the 2 ladies that joined us just to give us some insights from their side. Welcome, ladies. 2 Liesels. Liesel Eden, I'll start with you. Just out of curiosity, how have you managed? How have you navigated this lockdown period from your side?
Well, I've tried to still wake up early and as far as possible still keep some kind of routine. And
work, did your work quiet down?
Yeah, a lot. I haven't been that busy with work, but I've been trying to keep busy with other things.
That's perfect. Liesel Boshoff, on your side, how are you managing? Is it quiet at the law firm? I'm assuming because master's offices are closed, as far as I know.
Yeah, my side has been very quiet. I would say I was fortunate or unfortunate that my husband is classified as essential worker. So I've been home alone for 5 weeks, which is why I've been gymming, because otherwise I would be drinking, like all of you know. So I've been gymming. That has definitely been my motivation to keep busy. So I'm very quiet unless I gym.
Okay. Liesel, Eden, we'll jump back to you. Maybe if you can give us some insights on your side on this competition, maybe just, what do you see the competition as? Maybe how do you score points, and has it helped at all to keep you training?
Yes, I think it keeps you accountable. It holds you accountable, knowing that there's some kind of extra motivation to train and not just doing it for yourself. So that helped.
Awesome. Liesel Boshoff, on your side, I see you guys at least have a little bit of a mini gym going there, so it looks like you have your own CrossFit gym.
We've been very fortunate. You guys really helped a lot of members, and I don't think everyone has said thank you for letting us each take a piece of equipment. It really has helped tremendously. I also have the Cooper CrossFit gyms stuff in my gym, so they have a few less stuff in theirs now. So it's going good. Trying really hard to stay motivated, trying to get fitter. I had a motto in the beginning of this: either I'm going to come out fat or I'm going to come out fit. So I'm hoping I'm towards the fit side.
And maybe we'll finish off on any highlights of this specific competition. Liesel, Eden, if we go back to you. Posting, being allowed to post on social media every day.
Yeah. Yeah, weet nie.
Liesel Boshoff.
I have a very random one. My one best friend lives in George, and for her 30th birthday, she asked for people to contribute so she could get a year worth of gym membership.
Oh, wow.
So everyone did. She's been to the gym exactly twice since then. So my highlight of the competition is I blackmailed them into doing the competition to get points. And now they actually are going to do the rest of the Zoom package for the rest of the lockdown period, because they actually really did enjoy it that much. So that's my highlight.
Oh, that's awesome. Ladies, thank you for joining us. It's always good to hear that our members are utilizing these things, and we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. All right, following on some of our topics we want to cover, we want to chat about the financial side of things. Obviously, a lot of us have been hard hit with members, or a lot of gyms out there have been hard hit with members cancelling or having their own income affected. We also want to chat about the things we've added. So and Kyle will elaborate on this, but we sort of foresee this coming during the month of March. Following what happened in China in February, where they already went into an extended 45-day lockdown. I think we were ahead of the curve in expecting this to happen. So Kyle and Nick have been proactively looking at ways for us to engage members since day one of the lockdown. Kyle, I'll jump to you just to give us, some of the highlights of what we've done during this. It's been 4 weeks now to keep members training.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. When we went into this, it was kind of like uncharted waters. We had no idea what was going on. There was no blueprint of how to do it, what we did. So I think the goal was always, and it will maintain or still be the same for a foreseeable future, is member engagement. So we just try to do as many things as we could to make sure that our members were still training. So it started before the lockdown, actually, when members started to stay at home, asked them to stay at home for a little bit longer, make sure that they were keeping safe, that sort of thing. And we started to see that the numbers were declining in the gym. The first thing we did was we started with the at-home WADS initiative. So Nick and I started, obviously the programming that we did, we tweaked slightly so that members could manage it at home. They didn't have to come into the gym. And we started recording a daily video. That daily video went out to the members, was well received. And I think what was nice about that is we managed to keep the members at home engaged, obviously doing our part for social distancing and things like that, but keeping them motivated and training. And after that, there's been a whole bunch of extra things. I think we'll go into more detail with those specific topics as we go through the podcast. And then obviously what followed that was people got locked down, people couldn't leave their houses. So what we decided to do was kind of like a rental agreement. Members took equipment from us to make sure that they could train at home. They had equipment to train at home, and we programmed accordingly. And we started sending out workouts on a daily for them to practice or to do a workout every single day at home. And off the top of my head, I think those are the first things. And then we kind of went into a Zoom cycle where we utilized this platform to make sure that we could still coach members. There was still engagement from the member side with one another and not just the coaches. And they weren't just watching a video. I think that's quite important, is that if they just have to watch a video of you doing an explanation and you showing them how to do a movement, they're going to be less inclined. Having a 6 or having an 8 o'clock slot means they have to keep a schedule, means they have to make sure that they book into a class still. They still have to be there. So that's been quite a good way to keep them motivated and engaged. I don't know if you have anything else to say about this stuff so far, Nick.
Before Nick jumps in, for me, the interesting part was, unintended consequence was that we started offering online Zoom classes as a package to people that are not members. And, we actually had about 7 people join up for the online package. Now, some of them might be potential leads into the business, but some of them stay in other parts of the country. But what we did is we actually cushioned some of the members that we lost with the income from these online classes. And I think That's quite important. Like you mentioned, it's not just a video where you can follow it on a YouTube or on a Facebook link. It was an actual class where people are taught, and technique was corrected as best as possible. There was someone explaining the movements, so it was very easy for someone new to slot into a Zoom class.
Yeah, I think one of the important things that goes back to when we started this whole operation as ATG is what our goals were when we set out. We've always been a gym that prides ourselves on that personal touch and the community, and what we give back to our members, and the product that we deliver. So it's very important that we manage to find the step. I think a lot of people have been content just to release a workout online and hope their members will follow it. I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we've always been much more concerned about how many people attend our classes as opposed to how many general members we have. And I think that's been the goal all along, because people are craving this community. And this is why they're involved in a CrossFit setup, is because they're craving this environment where they get to see people and interact with people. And they might not be able to do it now on a physical basis, but they can at least see faces, hear the voices, hear the chirps from everybody. So I think that's the big important step that we've taken with this Zoom setup early on. And obviously then the at-home workouts help to enforce that. Okay, you've got something to train for, you've got a goal, you've got a program, you've got somewhere to move forward to.
And Carl, our most recent release is quite an interesting one for me, where we found a platform that allows you to record these Zoom classes, because now, obviously, as we know, on Friday, some people might return to work, so some of the classes might not suit their schedule. Maybe you want to chat to us briefly about how we've done that. I know a lot of work went into that.
Yeah, I think, it goes back to kind of what the buzzword is now in the microgym community, and that is an online business. Your business has now been shifted from a brick and mortar, being inside, having an interaction with your members, to now an online business. And I guess for me that was quite a nerve-wracking thing and quite an intimidating thing, because if you look at how internationally how they're rolling out these lockdowns and things like that, no one is going back. Lockdown ends and everyone is back to normal and everything happens the same. So I guess for us, seeing as this is kind of what we do for a living, and we don't really have businesses outside of this, and both of our businesses are tied into the same project, we needed to make sure that we try and secure it as much as possible. So we went on the hunt on something to try and keep our members engaged, whether they're in the gym or not. So the whole idea is that whatever we do is sustainable once we move back into the regular scheme of things. And if a member is not interested in brick and mortar gym, we need to be able to provide them with a service still. So we went on a hunt. Unfortunately, we are not one of those massive gyms that has huge financial backing or anything at the moment. So we don't have things like our own apps and people doing our software development and things like that. So we went on a hunt and we found a platform that allows us to create, I guess you could say, like a Netflix environment for your members, where they can pick and choose what videos they want to watch, what workouts they want to do, that sort of thing. So we've basically migrated. We're still doing our Zoom classes. We're still doing our once a day workouts, but we've added a whole bunch of extra information and extra packages and workouts for the members to do on that new platform that we've created. And it's quite cool. It's quite interesting. Members can go on there. They can choose what workouts they like. They can do little extra finishes. They can do little challenges that we've set out for them, and that'll be constantly updated in the future. And hopefully that's part of the rolling out of an online service once we move back into the regular gym when we're allowed to open again.
Yeah, no, that's. I think that is the idea. I think if you look at the platform, it's certainly something that going forward can be utilized. Nick, I want to jump to you on three things. Firstly, We introduced a yoga class, which we've always spoken about, and we were very hesitant to bring that into a CrossFit gym. This was the ideal platform. I would like to chat about that. Secondly, this online thing for me, interesting on the karate side. It seems to me that the older, the more senior students are very loyal to their senseis, and it's almost as if this thing has created an opportunity where some of your students, your brown and black belt students that moved away, could potentially now engage with you via Zoom. I'd like to chat about that and just general member engagement. How have you found? I think because we don't see people face to face, it's difficult to engage with members. But interestingly, what I've seen is we are much more on WhatsApp with various members, and not necessarily the loudest people in the class. But it seems to me that everyone's getting spoken to. Maybe just your take on those three things.
Yeah, I think first of all, when it comes to the yoga, as you said before, it's something that we've been looking at attacking for a while. It's been an extra element that, CrossFitters tend to have this stigma attached to them where they extreme and hardcore, and these sort of softer, more gentle things are not what we would go for. But I think members have been craving that extra element that we're always trying to push them through, which is some mobility, and to calm down a little bit. And luckily, we've always had this option available to us in the background, with Catherine being there, having the qualifications that she does. But obviously with work schedules, etc., it's been difficult to line up the two planets, in terms of what the yoga has been doing and in terms of what we've been doing. But now that everybody's forced into this situation, it's the perfect opportunity to pilot something. And it's been really nice for a lot of people, because maybe they didn't have the cash flow, or maybe they didn't have the time to be able to do CrossFit and yoga. Now we're able to offer the facility as an extra class, and it doesn't necessarily take out of their time or take out of their pockets, and they can experience that mobility and that little bit of zen, so to speak, and I think it's something that a lot of us have needed during this lockdown, that hour of a little bit of calm to try and take a breath and reflect a little bit. Some people think it's very esoteric and very out there, but I think a lot of people, especially some of the ladies, have been very, very forthcoming, as when it comes to enjoying the yoga and taking it on. So I'm very happy.
That's right up your hippie alley, Nick.
Yeah, very, very much so. Now, I'm always being accused of being the hipster and the hippie. So for me, this is fantastic news. I get to sit in my hemp basket and do some yoga, which is great. So when it comes down to the karate side of things, it's been a slower transition with the karate, because there's a slightly different dynamic when it comes to martial arts. There's a very, like Chalk says, there's a very loyalty-based system when it comes to martial arts, and this very traditionalist mindset. People don't tend to flip-flop from dojo to dojo. Loyalty is quite a big thing, because you tend to build up a relationship with these students over many, many years. As an example, I've got some students that have been with me for 12 years to 15 years since they began karate, and they're now young adults. So these guys are not easily going to just go to somebody else when we've built up this trust. And like you've said, it's been a fantastic method for us to be able to reconnect with some people who, for whatever reason, have had to give up karate, have had to go overseas, have had to go to varsity, and lifestyle changes have forced them to stop. And now these students are able to re-engage with us, jump back into classes, come back in and train a little bit without any real difficulty. They don't have to travel anywhere. They don't have to do anything specific. They can do it from the comfort of their own home. It's just a question of the want and the will. So I like this, silver linings prospect. What we've added here has just given that value added service that we can give to people outside of our general circle. So it's given us opportunity to see, potential business growth later on, but obviously that re-engagement of members, which is always a great thing. And when it comes down to the engagement with members, as you said before, we have a very big eye on trying to keep people actively training and actively doing things, because our product and our legacy is how well our members do, right? So it's not just necessarily how many members we have, because we are not a Mac gym or a Mac dojo. We're looking for that quality of product, and we're looking for people to say at the end of the day, go to these guys because they have a good product. Their training is good. We feel great. Look at our results. everybody's happy, it's a great community. So we obviously try to enforce that, throughout the lockdown, and trying to build these personal relationships with people. And I think that's where the personal messaging comes in, and the coaches having a personal relationship with each one of the members. So what we've decided to do is designate a group of members, basically like a team, so to speak, to each coach. And each coach is in charge of looking after these members to make sure that these people are still engaged with us, enjoying the gym, and just to find out what their health has been like. Because engaging with people is not just about getting them to come to training. It's about actually finding out how they're coping. A lot of people, strangely enough, have been working a lot harder during the lockdown than they thought, and some people losing their income have been on the opposite end of the spectrum, where they're looking for something to do. So I think it's been a big important step for us to check up on the members and just make sure that each person, or to find out where each person is and where their mind is at this point, you know what I mean? And obviously that's something we want to keep following up on and keep pressing forward with as we go.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, and it leads on to my thoughts. I mean, I think initially everyone was very anxious about the short-term ramifications of losing members, and people stop paying for membership and things. And our vision was a bit more of a medium to long-term member retention strategy, regardless of whether they pay or not. Now, naturally, people will tell me, but I mean, you can't allow someone to attend your class if they don't pay. Yes, but if you cancel someone's membership because they can't pay due to unforeseen circumstances, there's a very small chance that they would return back to your gym. Our strategy was a medium-term strategy where we said, well, listen, if we help these guys through the next 2 difficult months by keeping them sane, training and all that, maybe they would stay on as long-term members after this lockdown. It's not going to last forever. And so the first thing we implemented is we offered financial relief to members that lost income. It was quite stressful for me managing the finances, because you don't really know how many of your members have lost income, how big their income losses were, and you always have that thing in the back of your mind that some people might take chances with that. Now, I think looking back, that was probably one of the best decisions we've made, because the gratitude from members following that communication was just amazing. I can honestly tell you that no one is there to take chances with, trying to slice 50% of their membership or not paying for a month. Your members they have empathy with the situation, but there is the reality that some people are losing income. And I think this is something we implemented that really helped. So if someone lost income, we still keep them as a member. We want them to be engaged within our community, but they won't pay for the month of May. And if they still have a loss of income in June, it'll continue on until they are back on their feet. That is, for me, that was quite important. I think we need to, like we mentioned, we are a community, and I think the microgym industry is a community. We had to have sympathy with the people that lost income.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Chooks. It's the fact that this is not, it's very easy in this uncertainty and things like that to be worried about you and your income and what's happening with your business. But you need to take that community view. You need to understand that those people can only be members if they can financially survive. So anything we can do to help them, anything we can do to bolster them a little bit, is gonna in essence affect our business and make our business stronger at the end of the day. But if we did what most people's reaction, I think, would be initially don't allow any changes to memberships, things like that, because we need to protect our business. It's not a long-term view, it is very much a here and now sort of idea.
I think also one of the points to that is that, our members, and this is where we've got to say thank you to our members, is the fact that they also are very understanding of the fact that this is our livelihood. So they, as much as they don't want to lose their income, they don't want us to lose our livelihood either, which means that the understanding is mutual and it goes both ways. And I think just that development has been something that that we've cultivated over a long period of time, where people relate to you and they can see that they will go as far as they can to pay when they can pay. And that's why we have taken that approach of, we understand that you're not taking a chance, and we know that this is a last straw type of situation for you, and that if you did have the income to be able to pay your full fees, that you would do that. You know what I mean? And I think that's where we've got to like express our gratitude to the members, because most of our members have really been forthcoming when it's come down to the crunch with that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think what, that engagement is the reason that members are that way. If we just did the bare minimum, and we didn't really care for the members, and we hadn't built a relationship with individual members, then I think maybe we wouldn't be sitting where we are now and talking about the things we have. I think we would have lost a huge amount of members. So it all goes back to creating that relationship with your individual members, and not just their engagement with the gym, but individually with the people at the gym. I think is quite important.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And again, going back to all these value adds that we've added, and making videos and Zoom classes, you are staying front in mind for most members. They see your face, they know you need to live all these things. If at the end of the day, if you want to tick, what am I going to cancel off my budget? You're going to see that you've attended 20 classes that kept you sane during the last month, so you won't cut that. You also saw those guys going the extra mile to provide you with content online and via Facebook and WhatsApp. So that is where I think that is important, that what you mentioned is this community aspect. Is some people are alone, some people are two people in the house, but it feels like you are seeing people once a day in these Zoom classes. And I think, we've spoken about, people have spoken about the future of Zoom, and maybe, when the gym opens again, this might not be as big as it is, but there are people that might not make gym for whatever reasons, and there's definitely an option there. We chat about that later. I just want to jump in on, the things that we've done from a financial side to combat this potential loss of income. I mean, obviously we knew about this going into the March payroll and March rental payment period. So the first thing we did is phone up your landlord. Most of the shopping centers, but for us, we are on a school property. Phone your landlord and discuss a discount on your rent. We managed to get a very decent discount on our rent, which helped a lot for the month of April. We will see how that goes into May and when we open again. The idea here is just to keep as much cash in the bank as possible, because at the end of March, we had no clue what was going to happen at the end of April, and we still don't really have a clue what's going to happen at the end of May. There's a very big potential that we might still be closed by the end of May. So in these uncertain times, your strategy needs to be to hoard as much cash as you can. So we got a rental holiday on our monthly rent. You can defer affiliate payments. So with CrossFit, you have the option to pay your affiliate payments monthly. It was very easy to email them and get our payment deferred to the end of May. So that is about 5,000 Rand that we saved. Not saved, but we just, again, put 5 grand in the bank for potential future payments. The other thing is to just see where you can save as much money. If there are unnecessary subscriptions that you have been paying for that you're not going to use in the month. A lot of these subscription-based apps are monthly payments, so you can just activate them. But just being proactive and going through your statements to see where you can save some money. There are options with UIF now that you can explore, and we're not experts on that, so we won't dig into that. For us, the biggest thing was to keep paying our staff, even though they're not necessarily taking classes. And for me, I'm quite passionate about that. I didn't want anyone to take a salary cut just because we can't allow them to work. So we've managed to, up to now, pay all our staff, and we will still be able to do that at the end of April. And that was, for me, was one of the bigger goals, because we said we're a community, but if you treat your members that way, you should treat your staff that way as well. So, there are a variety of other things you can do, but I think when it comes to finances. A lot of people sort of shut down and they don't want to engage. They're scared to speak to the landlord. They don't want to email the CrossFit HQ or whatever the case might be. I think this is the time as a business owner you need to step up. And, you know, for most of us, rent is 20% of our income, probably more for some that are in shopping centers. An email to a landlord is not going to suffice. Those guys are inundated with emails from various retail shops that are much worse off than you are. You need to put a landlord on the spot and give them a phone call and get an answer out of them right away. That's my only advice I can give you. When it comes to finance, pick up the phone, speak to someone, show that you are in financial distress, but an email gives them a longer opportunity to respond with a very formalized approach, or we can't do this. And I mean, you can understand from their side, but if you phone them, the outcome would probably be better. We're going to jam on a couple of things, but I just like your guys' take on the future impact of this. I mean, like I said, we are going to season 3 on Friday. We don't know what it's going to look like. We might open next Friday. We don't know. But what do you think the future impact of this specific lockdown will be? I mean, we mentioned the online classes, but if you guys have any interesting nuggets, let's chat about that.
Yeah, I think we're going to be in a bit of limbo and a bit of hybrid situation for the next few months, regardless of if, you know, the floodgates open when it comes to the lockdown for everybody. And let's say, for example, in the next month, everybody's able to go to work. I think a lot of people are still going to be skeptical about public gatherings, about things with big numbers, you know, so you're going to have this sort of hybrid situation where people are going to be coming to the gym, but some people are going to be wanting to still stick to the online and the at home. So I think it's very, very important for us to keep going forward with the plans that we've put in place for lockdown, because I don't think that a lot of the situations are going to change for people, at least within the next 3 weeks or so, you know. So we have to make sure that, you know, the future is available to them in terms of having both situations where they can come to the gym and where they can have this online approach as well. And I also think that, as you touched on before, it has opened up a potential market of people that aren't necessarily in your area. You know, people who have some loyalty or personal loyalty to you and your family, or somebody who has loyalty to a friend of a friend, maybe would like to try out your situation, would much prefer to be in a comfortable environment, and that's where they would take that online approach as well. You know, so it could be a prospect in the future for people to take on an online class as a consistent membership, rather than having, like Kyle said, the brick and mortar set up for them. And that goes down to private students as well, you know, opening the floor to having one-on-one classes from your home, as opposed to having one-on-one classes at a gym facility. And I think that's probably going to be much more prevalent going forward.
I think for me, it's less about what it's going to be like and more about what our movement should be. I think that this has taught me, or taught us definitely as a business, that number one, we need to have a constant engagement with our members, even more than what we previously thought, to make sure that we keep moving forward in a different direction. And number two, we got to make sure that we're fluid. We can transition from one position to the next position seamlessly. We can implement and take things in and out of our daily business that we need and that we don't need. So I think it's more about being able to shift your business in a direction that suits your members as quick as possible and as effectively as possible than what the future is going to look like. Because again, no one knows what that is just yet. So if that's online, then we need to be able to make sure that we have the capacity to do that. And if it's in a normal gym, and who knows, in a couple of weeks' time, there could be a whole nother thing that we need to work on from a member engagement business, or a way to push our business in. And we just need to make sure that we are fluid enough to follow that path and be able to implement it without losing. What's important, I think, is without losing those other components of your business, because you cannot now go and say, well, right, I'm going to put all my effort into online training, because at the end of the day, we are a small micro gym business. We have to open our gym eventually. We have to have members back in the gym. That's what we need to do. So we need to be able to make sure that all the platforms run hand in hand, I guess.
Yeah, from my side, you know, there were interesting things that that happened during this lockdown, from, you know, analyzing some of the data and one of the things is that, we've had very little drop off in attendance if you compare it month to month. Okay, the last normal month was February, and comparing April for Zoom attendance, the attendance was similar, which means that people are hungry for training. For me, the most interesting thing is that the engagement came from the newer members. Our members that are up to, say, 6 or 9 months, all of a sudden you had these guys engage much more with us on social media, for one. For two, attend 4 to 6 classes a week, which normally those are the type of guys that will come twice a week, because, and maybe goes back to the CrossFit high intensity, is, you do 2 CrossFit classes a week and you can't walk, or that's the stigma. But now you have a class at home, you can pick your own weight, whether that is a dumbbell that you borrowed from the gym, or you makeshift a piece of equipment. I don't think it's as strenuous on some of the people that they thought, so they can do 6 classes. I would like to see in a year's time the retention rate on this specific group of, let's call them, newbies in the gym. So for me, I think this online platform could be used for newer members, even if the gym opens. Whether that's through a little bit of a Zoom call to check in on goals and all that, or whether we actually keep online classes going to say, well, listen, we'd like you to attend 1 proper CrossFit class a week, but how about trying 2 of these during the week at home if you want to. Or perhaps, looking at something in the line of a lower intensity type class, because it seems to me that this has really worked. I mean, I'm not saying all the classes are low intensity. I know people, have cried for some of your workouts, Carl, but I just think because there's not as heavy load from the gymnastics and the weight side, you can actually do 6 classes a week.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, is the fact that it's also that the time period, I think, is quite important. I think what it has got something I have been thinking about a lot recently since we started it is maybe the reduced class time in terms of the online. I'm not sure about how it'll work in a brick and mortar type thing, but not everyone has the ability to come to your gym for an hour class. Remember that involves the 15-minute drive before and after. If you have kids, you need to make dinner. 5 o'clock's difficult to make, that sort of thing. It's a lot more convenient to be able to switch on your laptop, quickly do a workout in your lounge, and then move on with your business. And the workout takes you 30 to 45 minutes, and that's warm-up, workout, and cool-down. So I think the convenience is something that a lot of people have looked for. Not saying that this will be the way that people will stay, but I think those people that are maybe less inclined to come into your gym as often might be more inclined to do this just purely because of the convenience.
I think also the only thing that I miss, and especially obviously one of the reasons why I really want the gym to be active again, is the specialized skill element that we offer. That's unique to a CrossFit facility, or a facility like ours where you can't necessarily do things like that at home. People don't have access to proper gymnastic equipment, rigs, rings, that sort of thing. And that's a sort of infrastructure that maybe people start to develop at their houses at a later stage. But as it stands, it does limit your programming options a little bit. And that's one thing that will be a hurdle that we'd like to, we'd have to try and think a little bit about, because, there are benefits to having a facility. We can't turn around and say, right, now everything's online and now we can just scrap the building, because there's a reason why we've got a gym, and there's a reason why from the get-go we didn't just say, right, let's just do this thing online and let's just train at home. Is because we have things that other people can't offer. We have things that people don't have at home, and that opens up the spectrum of what we can offer as a product. And this is why we want the gym to be active again, and why we would encourage people, once the all clear is given, to start moving back into the gym. It's not just because the environment will start to motivate you and get you back into your regular routine. It's that extra thing. If you want to learn how to do ring muscle ups, the facility is there. If you want to work with a rig, the facility is there. If you want to run on a track, if you want to swim in a pool, if you want to do things the way your general programming will allow you to do, a facility is where you want to be. And it also gives you another reason to be accountable. You know, we say we're accountable now because we have competitions, and this is the contingency we've put in place for that. But I think driving to a facility makes you accountable for that particular session. Once you decide to get in your car and go, you've decided effectively that you are doing that class come hell or high water. It's very seldom you're going to get in your car, drive halfway, turn around and come home. So once you start that trip actually makes you a little bit more accountable for your health, you know. And I think that's why a facility is quite important. And those people that are at that facility will draw you there and hold you accountable as well. Whereas when you're at home, all you need to not do is switch on your computer, you know. And that's really the disadvantage of the home thing, is I think it can be quite easy to slip into a different routine where you find other things to distract you, rather than saying, right, there's a set class, all my friends are in it, I'm going to be at the gym at a certain time. So I think that's where we must be very clear, is that we're not looking to completely migrate to an online platform, because we need our gym, we need our facility.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think we're all itching to get back, and we hope this is a short-term solution, because yes, like you said, I mean, I'm dying to do a bit of pull-ups because I don't have a rig at home. I didn't think about these things. So yeah, maybe just before we end off with Nick's dad joke of the day, just to wrap up. I mean, we don't believe we are specialists in the field. We are still navigating this thing like every other gym owner and probably every other small business owner out there, taking it week by week. I mean, we know we had the announcements last week on Friday being a level 4 or reduced lockdown, but we don't really know what that looks like. I mean, you can read through the 27-page PDF document, but you still don't exactly know what it is. So the crux of this is that we're taking this day by day, week by week. We share some insights. We love some gym owners to tell us their views. Maybe we can get one of you on our podcast. But we just thought we'd share some of our things that we've implemented, and hopefully some of you can use these things in your gyms going forward. Thanks for listening. We'll end off with a classic dad joke from Nick Chalmers.
I got a confession to make. I'm a pretty funny guy myself.
Right, guys, I think this is something that people have been missing a little bit. At least I've been missing it, chuckling at myself, looking at the board where I've written badly or written something that doesn't make sense to anybody. Okay, the dad joke of today. My wife is furious that our next door neighbor has started sunbathing in the nude in the garden. Personally, I'm on the fence.
Terrible.
That's your dad joke of the day. You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to our Gym Owner Jams podcast. Keep an eye out for the next one coming soon.